Shalom, Israel. Grace and blessings from God the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ be unto you. Hey, all praises to the Most High that we made it another week. We're actually coming out of the memorial blowing of trumpets, the first day of the 7th month. We're on the back end of a new moon. Now it'd be technically over because it was last night and you know the day following. So all praise to the Most High that we made it to another month and another Bible History 101. And the 7th month is very important because, you know, in the 7th month comes the Day of Atonement and the Feast of Tabernacles. Excuse me, also known as the Feast of Ingathering. So I'm just going to make sure everything's working properly and then we'll jump right into it. Let's see. Ingathering. So okay, all praise to the Most High. And I do just want to say y'all to be liking the videos and, you know, doing your reaction to the video. Hey, appreciate that. Keep that up. But also get down in the comments. All right, it's going to help the algorithm. And if you have any questions that you want to ask, put it down in the comments. I'll get to it sometime during the stream. But we're going to start with right where we left off last week in Genesis. Let me just bring this on down. That'll work. So yeah, we're just gonna pick right up with Genesis 33. We ended with Genesis 32 last week. Jacob is trying to come home from Padan Aram, and he's meeting Esau on the way, or rather Esau's meeting him. All right, and the last time Jacob and Esau talked to each other, Esau wanted to kill Jacob. All right, talking about Jacob done stole the birthright and all this kind of stuff, even though it was always promised to him, and Esau sold his birthright. So Jacob, he's trying to move with prudence here. He's not trying to get his family killed, so he's offering Esau gifts and, you know, splitting up the family and going into different camps, different groups, so that Esau can't kill them all. If he kills one group, then the other group can go free. But in Genesis 33, we'll pick up with verse 1. And Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau came, and with him 400 men. And he divided the children unto Leah and unto Rachel and unto the 2 handmaids. And he put the handmaids and their children foremost, and Leah and her children after, and Rachel and Joseph hindermost, right? Because he loved Rachel and Joseph the most. And he passed over before them and bowed himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. And Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. And he lifted up his eyes and saw the women and the children and said, Who are those with thee? And he said, The children which God hath graciously given thy servant. Right? So Jacob thought Esau was going to meet him with violence, but Esau, he had already gotten over that. He had already gotten over that, and he just wanted to see his brother. And so when he met him, they hugged, and, you know, they started crying on each other's shoulders. And Esau was like, Who are these that are with you? Who are these women and children? And he's like, These are my wives and my children that God has blessed me with. Then the handmaidens came near, they and their children, and they bowed themselves. And Leah also with her children came near and bowed themselves. And after came Joseph near and Rachel, and they bowed themselves. And he said, What meanest thou by all this drove which I met? And he said, These are to find grace in the sight of my Lord. And Esau said, I have enough, my brother. Keep that thou hast unto thyself. Right? So Esau said, Look, I'm already rich. I don't need these gifts that you're trying to provide me with. All right. And Jacob said, Nay, I pray thee, if now I have found grace in thy sight, then receive my present at my hand. For therefore I have seen thy face as though I have seen the face of God, and thou wast pleased with me. Right? Because Jacob was very fearful for his life. That's why he's saying, Look, I've seen thee as though I've seen the face of God. You had power in your hand to strike me down, but you didn't. Right? That's basically what Jacob's saying to him. Take, I pray thee, my blessing that is brought to thee, because God had dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough. And he urged him, and he took it. Right? So Jacob's like, No, I insist. And Esau's like, Okay, well, I'll take the gifts. And he said, Let us take our journey, and let us go, and I will go before thee. And he said unto him, My Lord knoweth that the children are tender, and the flocks and herds with young are with me. And if men should overdrive them one day, all the flock will die. Let my Lord, I pray thee, pass over before his servant, and I will lead on softly, according as the cattle that goeth before me, and the children be able to endure until I come unto my Lord unto Seir, right? So Esau was like, hey, come back to my place. And Jacob's like, well, yeah, I'll come back to your place, but I got to follow behind. I can't lead the way because y'all would pass me because, there's children here. I have cattle that has young and they're going to walk slowly, right? So he said, let's go to Seir. And Esau said, let me now leave with thee some of the folk that are with me. And he said, what needeth it? Let me find grace in the sight of my Lord. So Esau returned that day on his way to Seir, and Jacob journeyed to Succoth, and built him a house, and made booths for his cattle. Therefore the name of the place is called Succoth. All right, Succoth meaning booth. All right, even in modern Hebrew, when they speak on the Feast of Tabernacles, it's called the Feast of Booths. They call it Sukkot. All right, it's the same word. It means booth. All right, so Esau was like, look, let some of my men escort you to Seir. And Jacob's like, why? let me just meet you down there. And so Jacob went to Succoth. Let's see if I can find Succoth on the map here. Yeah, so you see Succoth. It's just east of the Jordan, just east of the Jordan. All right. And Jacob came to Shalem, a city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Padan Aram and pitched his tent before the city, and he bought a parcel of a field where he had spread his tent at the hand of the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money, and he erected there an altar and called it El Elohi Israel, right? God, the God of Israel. All right. So let's keep on with it. In Genesis 34, verse 1, and Dinah, the daughter of Leah, which she bare unto Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. Right? She wanted to go make some friends. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her and lay with her and defiled her. His soul clave unto Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the damsel and spake kindly unto the damsel. Right? So some people read verse 2 and they think it's non-consensual, to use some proper terms there. They think it's they see where it says he took her and he lay with her and defiled her, and they think it's the R word. It was forceful. But in verse 3 it lets you know, where it says he spake kindly to the damsel, that lets you know it was consensual. All right, Shechem spit his game to Dinah, and she fell for it and lay with him. And Shechem spake unto his father Hamor, saying, get me this damsel to wife. And Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah his daughter. Notice, because every time that the Bible talks about rape, it uses the word force, unless of course it's date rape in the case that happened with Lot. But in this case, took a mosquito. In this case, it just says defiled. That's the term that it uses when it's talking about consensual sex before marriage. It uses the term defiled or humbled. All right. It does not use the word forced here, because this was not, or rather I should say, this was consensual. All right. Dinah and Shechem, they were shacking up together. And then Shechem's like, hey, I want to marry this girl. Now his sons were with his cattle in the field, and Jacob held his peace until they were come. And Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out unto Jacob to commune with him. And the sons of Jacob came out of the field when they heard it. And the men were grieved, and they were very wroth, because he had wrought folly in Israel because he had wrought folly in Israel in lying with Jacob's daughter, which thing ought not to be done. You see that right there? That was never a custom of our forefathers when men and women would be shacking up together before marriage. That was never a custom of the holy people, all right, of any of God's chosen. That was never the custom. This world that we live in today has filled the people's head with lies and with whoredom. All right, the land has fell to whoredom these days. That was never the case. That was never so when it comes to the righteous. All right. And Hamor communed with them, saying, the soul of my son Shechem longeth for your daughter. I pray you give her him to wife. Right. But to the Canaanites, this was normal. This was normal for the Canaanites to, shack up with each other in whoredom and then get married later. Or not even get married and just move on to the next one, right? That's what they were doing in Canaan and in Sodom. That's one of the reasons why America is called spiritual Sodom. Also because of the gay stuff, but just in general, the land is filled with whoredom, like ancient Canaan. All right? And make ye marriages with us, and give your daughters unto us, and take our daughters unto you. Right? So, surely this Hamor, and these Hivites, surely they know of Abraham and Isaac and their sons. And now they're talking with Jacob, and they're like, well, we've noticed that y'all Hebrews that moved here, y'all don't intermarry with us Canaanites. Y'all should do that. Your son should marry our daughters, and our daughters should, or rather, our son should marry your daughters, right? And ye shall dwell with us, and the land shall be before you. Dwell and trade ye therein, and get you possessions therein, right? Because Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, notice what it said earlier about they pitched their tent. They didn't even build houses. They were always on the move in Canaan. They were ready to go at a moment's notice, all right? Always traveling throughout the land. They were pilgrims in the earth, all right? So that's why he said, look, trade, get you a possession, build you a house, intermarry with us. That's what this Canaanite's trying to propose to Jacob. And Shechem said unto her father and unto her brethren, let me find grace in your eyes, and what ye shall say unto me I will give. So Shechem's like, look, I want to marry Dinah. We've already been sleeping together. I want to marry her. All right. Verse 12. Ask me never so much dowry and gift, and I will give according as ye shall say unto me. But give me the damsel to wife. He said, look, if you want some kind of gift or dowry, as it was known as back in the day, just tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it. All right. And the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor his father deceitfully, and said, because he had defiled Dinah their sister. Right. So these sons of Leah, because Dinah was a daughter of Leah. So these sons of Leah deceived Hamor and Shechem. And they said unto them, we cannot do this thing, to give our sister to one that is uncircumcised, for that were a reproach unto us. But in this will we consent unto you. If ye will be as we be, that every male of you be circumcised, then will we give our daughters unto you, and we will take your daughters to us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people. But if ye will not hearken unto us to be circumcised, then will we take our daughter, and we will be gone. You see that right there? So they said, look, you got to get circumcised. You got to cut off the foreskin of your penis for us to intermarry with y'all. And their words pleased Hamor and Shechem, Hamor's son. They said, really? That's what y'all do? All right, I guess we'll do that. And the young man deferred not to do the thing because he had delight in Jacob's daughter, right? So Shechem, he really loved Dinah. That was sincere. He wasn't, he fell in love with her. That was not a trick. And he was more honorable than all the house of his father, right? Shechem was a good dude, all right? He was a Canaanite, and that he did Canaanite customs, was like, banging these women before marriage. But all in all, he was a good dude. He was sincere. And Hamor and Shechem, his son, came into the gate of their city and communed with the men of their city, saying, these men are peaceable with us. Therefore let them dwell in the land, and trade therein for the land. Behold, it is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters to us for wives, and let us give them let us give them our daughters. Only herein will the men consent unto us for to dwell with us, to be one people, if every male among us be circumcised as they are circumcised. Right. So you got to imagine this city council meeting that they're having here, this town hall that they they got up on the podium and it was like, look, I know this is gonna sound crazy, but this is what we got to do. All right, you see that they're rich. They moved in from out of town. The only way that we're really going to trade and, intermarry with each other is if we cut off our foreskins. There had to be people in the crowd like, what? What they want us to do? Verse 23, shall not their cattle and their substance and every beast of theirs be ours? Only let us consent unto them, and they will dwell with us. And unto Hamor and unto Shechem his son hearken all that went out of the gate of his city, and every male was circumcised. All that went out of the gate of his city. You see that right there? Meaning everyone who dwelt there, every male was circumcised. So every single one of them, that's crazy. But they were the rulers of the city. Hamor and Shechem were, they were basically the kings, or these days it would be like the mayor. If the mayor was had dictator type power, that's the type of power that they had. Verse 25. And it came to pass on the third day, when they were sore, that two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brethren, took each man his sword and came upon the city boldly and slew all the males. You see that right there? So these were Simeon and Levi. These were both sons of Leah. Right? So this was their full-blooded sister. So, this is what it meant when it said deceitfully. They had this in their mind the whole time. Look, we're going to attack them when they're all sore. Because I don't know if you ever heard or seen somebody who's been circumcised and as an adult, they're out of commission for about a few weeks. So it said the third day. That's very fresh wounds. They are not up and running around, moving around. They can't. So certainly can't fight. So Simeon and Levi, they destroyed this whole city. They killed this whole city after convincing them to cut off their foreskins. And they slew Hamor and Shechem his son with the edge of the sword, and took Dinah out of Shechem's house and went out. You see that right there? So they weren't even married yet, but she was already staying with him, shacking up with him. That's what they were doing. And you see how now these men doing this, Simeon and Levi, they weren't doing this in righteousness. This was a wicked thing to do. But this is how they felt about their sister shacking up with some dude before marriage. And they slew Hamor and Shechem, his son, with the edge of the sword, and took Dinah out of Shechem's house and went out. Verse 27. The sons of Jacob came upon the slain and spoiled the city, took all their possessions, because they had defiled their sister. They took their sheep and their oxen and their asses, and that which was in the city, and that which was in the field, and all their wealth, and all their little ones, and their wives took they captive, and spoiled even all that was in the house. You see that right there? So they took servants as well. They took everybody who they left alive as servants. And Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, Ye have troubled me to make me to stink among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites. And I, being few in number, they shall gather themselves together against me and slay me, and I shall be destroyed, I and my house. And they said, Should he deal with our sister as with a harlot? You see right there? So this was not, again, I just want to reiterate, this was consensual. As it says, she was playing a harlot. She had become a harlot, right? A whore. That's what a harlot is. But Jacob's like, what are you doing? Killing all these Canaanites, you're going to make these Canaanites turn on us and come kill all of us. Chapter 35. But yeah, that's never followed up on. So the Canaanites evidently did not care about what happened to, Shechem and Hamor and that whole city. They never come against Jacob. But Genesis 35 and verse 1. And God said unto Jacob, Arise, go up to Bethel, and dwell there, and make there an altar unto God that appeared unto thee when thou fleddest from the face of Esau thy brother. Right? So, just to be safe, and to make sure that the people don't come after him, God said, hey, look, Jacob, get up and get out of here and go to Bethel. Which is not that far away. If people really wanted to hunt him down, they could have. You see where Shechem is right here? Bethel is just south. It's just south. It's on the same side of the Jordan and everything. It's just a little south. Verse 2. Then Jacob said unto his household and to all that were with him, Put away the strange gods that are among you, and be clean, and change your garments. You see it right there. So he had to get his house in order. They were still worshiping idols on the side. All right. Be clean, change your garments. Let us arise and go up to Bethel, and I will make there an altar unto God, who answered me in the day of my distress, and was with me in the way which I went. They gave unto Jacob all the strange gods which were in their hand, and all their earrings which were in their ears, and Jacob hid them under the oak which was by Shechem. All right, so evidently those earrings had some sort of tie or ties to idolatry, right? So like maybe there was like a modern day, it'd be like a cross, or like a hexagram earrings, or like what was another one? like the yin yang, yin and yang symbol on earrings, like that type of stuff. That all represents other gods, other idols. And they journeyed, and the terror of God was upon the cities that were round about them. They did not pursue after the sons of Jacob. You see that right there? So after hearing about what happened, all the Canaanites began to be afraid as they saw the children of Israel and, Israel, the man himself, that whole lot moving through. The fear, as it says, the terror of God was upon all these Canaanites round about them. So Jacob came to Luz, which is in the land of Canaan, that is Bethel, he and all the people that were with him. He built there an altar and called the place El Bethel, right? God of the house of God. Because there God appeared unto him when he fled from the face of his brother. But Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died, and she was buried beneath Bethel under an oak. And the name of it was called Allon Bachuth. Do I see Allon Bachuth on here? Let's see. Allon Bachuth is the oak of weeping. The oak of weeping. All right. And verse 9. And God appeared unto Jacob again when he came out of Padan Aram and blessed him. And God said unto him, Thy name is Jacob. Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name. And he called his name Israel, right? So initially it was the angel that was fighting him that gave him this blessing. But God is reiterating this unto Jacob, in a more than likely in a vision or a dream. All right, verse 11. And God said unto him, I am God Almighty. Be fruitful. Did I finish out this verse? And God said unto him, Thy name is Jacob. Thy name shall not be called anymore Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name. And he called his name Israel, right? So changing it from the supplanter, which is what Jacob means, supplanter, unto Prince of God. That's what Israel means. And God said unto him, I am God Almighty, be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall be of thee, and kings shall come out of thy loins, primarily the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, Jesus of Nazareth. I don't know if you heard of him. Verse 12, and the land which I gave Abraham and Isaac to thee I will give it, and to thy seed after thee will I give the land. And God went up from him in the place where he talked with him, and Jacob set up a pillar in the place where he talked with him, even a pillar of stone. And he poured a drink offering thereon, and he poured oil thereon. And Jacob called the name of the place where God spake with him Bethel, right? So the Most High confirming his covenant that he made with initially Abraham, then with Isaac, and now with Jacob, changing his name to the Prince of God. All right, verse 16. And they journeyed from Bethel, and there was but a little way to come to Ephrath. And Rachel travailed and she had hard labor. Now, Ephrath, I believe, is the same as Ephrata, which is an ancient name for Bethlehem. I don't see Ephrath on here. But let's see if I can pull it up real quick on maps. I believe when it says Ephrath, it is talking about Bethlehem Ephrata. It may be a different city. Let's take a look at this map here. Because as you see Bethel right here, it's a little zoomed in. So it's just a little bit south till you get to Bethlehem. That seems to be which way they're headed. I don't see any Ephrath anywhere, so I believe it's talking about Bethlehem Ephrata. All right. So Ephrath, Rachel travailed, and she had hard labor. And it came to pass when she was in hard labor that the midwife said unto her, Fear not, thou shalt save this son also. And it came to pass as her soul was in departing, for she died, that she called his name Ben-Oni, but his father called him Benjamin. All right, so Ben-Oni being son of my mourning, or son of my sorrow, and Benjamin being son of the right hand. All right. So that's Benjamin. That's the birth of Benjamin. That is the youngest son of Jacob. All right. In hard labor, there was complications, right? Rachel, as it says in verse 19, and Rachel died and was buried in the way to Ephrath, which is Bethlehem. Right. So it just answered it right there. So, but yeah, this is it's sad to see Rachel die during pregnancy, but she gave Jacob 2 sons, so that was good. Plus, she worshipped idols, so I mean, what else can you expect? Verse 20, and Jacob set a pillar upon her grave, that is the pillar of Rachel's grave unto this day. And Israel journeyed and spread his tent beyond the tower of Edar, and I'm not quite sure where Edar is. Verse 22, and it came to pass when Israel dwelt in that land that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel heard it. And that's all it gives on this particular instance at this moment. But it tells you later on down the line that obviously Jacob was real pissed about this, that Reuben lay with his stepmother. All right, and that's why Reuben lost the birthright, because he discovered his father's skirt, so to speak. He slept with his stepmother. That's wicked. And Paul, even in 1 Corinthians 5, he kicked somebody out of the congregation for doing just that same thing. So yeah, that's how Reuben lost his birthright. All right. But anyway, verse 22, and it came to pass when Israel dwelt in that land that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel heard it. Now the sons of Jacob were 12. The sons of Leah, Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, and Simeon, and Levi, and Judah, and Issachar, and Zebulun. All right. So Leah ended up giving six sons to, Leah ended up giving 6 sons to Jacob. That's half of all the tribes. All right, Leah was very blessed in that. She had 6 sons with Jacob, plus 1 daughter. And the sons of Rachel were Joseph and Benjamin. And the sons of Bilhah, Rachel's maid, were Dan and Naphtali. And the sons of Zilpah, Leah's handmaid, were Gad and Asher. These are the sons of Jacob, which were born to him in Padan Aram. As it says, Padan Aram means the plain of Syria. All right. And I named it the death of Isaac this week just because I knew that this part was in here, but there was a lot of stuff going on that we're covering this week. So I'm, I just named it the death of Isaac to have a title, So Genesis 35 and verse 27, and Jacob came unto Isaac his father unto Mamre, unto the city of Arba, which is Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac sojourned. Right, so in Hebron, is it going to show it on here? It should show Hebron on here. Hebron is like south of Bethel, north of Beersheba, in this general region. I know I got it on a different map. This one right here, it lists more cities than this Journeys map. Hebron, as you can see right here, north of Beersheba, which is down here, and south of, what would I point out on this map? Shechem, Bethel. Yeah, Bethel is, where Bethel? Right up here. Right, so Hebron right there in the middle between them two. Right there, just west of the Dead Sea. All right. Verse 28, and the days of Isaac were 180 years. He was 180 years old when he died. He lived 5 years more than Abraham did. And Isaac gave up the ghost and died, and was gathered unto his people, being old and full of days. And his sons Esau and Jacob buried him. All right, so Esau and Jacob, they came together and reunited before Isaac died, but that was just another moment of them coming together. We're going to skip over Genesis 36 because we already read about Esau going into Mount Seir, and just mentions the lineage of Esau here in Genesis 36. So if you'd like, you can read that on your own time. I just wanted to read about how they took Seir. So this is Genesis 36, starting with 6. And Esau took his wives and his sons and his daughters and all the persons of his house and his cattle and all his beasts and all his substance, which he had gotten in the land of Canaan, and went into the country from the face of his brother Jacob, for their riches were more than they might dwell together. And the land wherein there were strangers could not bear them because of their cattle, right? So both the boys got very wealthy. Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom, right? So Esau took Mount Seir from the Horites, similar to how Israel eventually, meaning the descendants of Israel, by the hand of Joshua, ended up taking Canaan from the Canaanites, all right? And it lets you know that in Deuteronomy 2. Because some people, BHIs, you know them, we love them. Yeah, they you know, they hate Esau when the scriptures tell us, you know, don't abhor Esau, and they'll be like, well, Esau always steals everything. He even stole Mount Seir. But I mean, Moses just told you straight up, and here in Deuteronomy 2, let's see. Yeah, Deuteronomy 2 and 12. Moses told you straight up that Esau took Mount Seir the same way that we, the Israelites, took the land of Canaan, because it was theirs to inherit. In Deuteronomy 2 and verse 12, the Horites also dwelt in Seir before time, but the children of Esau succeeded them when they had destroyed them from before them and dwelt in their stead, as Israel did unto the land of his possession, which the Lord gave unto them. You see that right there. So Moses just straight up and down said, hey, look, Seir was given to Esau the same way that Canaan was given to the children of Israel. So let's go back to Genesis 37. And starting with verse 1, we'll get back on track. And this is when Joseph gets sold by his brethren. So in Genesis 37, starting with 1, and Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. Right? So that'd be Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors, right? So and it says, and Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. He was snitching on his brothers, because, you know, he had a special relationship with Jacob that, you know, he was going to tell him whatever that his brothers did, he would tell on them, all right? And, you know, Jacob, I mean, it is what it is. Jacob loved Joseph the most. Joseph was his favorite. It is what it is. Verse 4, and when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him, right? So they envied. They envied him and hated him because of that. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For, behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaf stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brethren said unto him, shalt thou indeed reign over us? Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words, right? So, Joseph, he was 17 when all this was going down. So that means all his brethren had to be adults, or very near 18, 19 at the very youngest. But more than likely, they were all full-grown adults in their 20s and 30s by the time that all this is happening. So, I mean, they really shouldn't be this childish at this point. Genesis 37 and verse 9. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, what is the dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth? And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the same, right? So Jacob knew that this isn't just Joseph blowing smoke. You know what I mean? This ain't just Joseph being proud, being arrogant. Jacob was like, really? What is the interpretation of this dream? because he knew that, hey, God had revealed things to Jacob in visions and dreams, right? So maybe he's doing the same thing with Joseph. He's like, okay. Genesis 37 and picking up with 12. And his brethren went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. And Israel said unto Joseph, do not thy brethren feed the flock in Shechem? Come, and I will send thee unto them. And he said to him, here am I. And he said to him, go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brethren and well with the flocks, and bring me word again. So he sent him out of the vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. All right, so he went north from Hebron to Shechem. And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, what seekest thou? And he said, I seek my brethren. Tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flocks. And the man said, they are departed hence. For I heard them say, let us go to Dothan. Excuse me. And Joseph went after his brethren and found them in Dothan. I don't know where Dothan is. I don't see that on very many maps. Maybe it's on this one that has the more cities. Do we see Dothan anywhere? Dothan. I don't see it. Perhaps I am tripping. No, here it is. Yeah, it's just northwest. There it is. It's just northwest, or north, slightly west of Shechem. So he came from Hebron, traveled up unto Shechem, met a man, had like, hey, where are the children of Israel at? And he's like, well, they said they was going to Dothan. So then he went up to Dothan. All right. Let's see. Some are far off. Okay, yeah, verse 18. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. And they said one to another, behold, this dreamer cometh. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him and cast him into some pit. And we will say some evil beast had devoured him. And we shall see what will become of his dreams. And Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands, and said, let us not kill him. And Reuben said unto them, shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands to deliver him to his father again. You see that there? So Reuben was actually trying to save Joseph. Reuben being the oldest, he's probably, if not 40, then, in his 30s by this point. Has to be. Because Joseph was the 11th born. So and Joseph at this time was 17, so Reuben had to be on up in his 30s at least. I guess you could say if they had him back to back, you could say that he's late 20s, but still a grown ass man dealing with these other men who should be grown and talking sense. He's trying to reason with them and save his brother instead of kill him. All right, let us not kill him, to deliver him to his father again. Verse 23. And it came to pass when Joseph was coming to his brethren that they stripped Joseph out of his coat of many colors that was on him. And they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty. There was no water in it. All right, so it was an empty well. And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead with their camels, bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt, right? So Gilead is east of the Jordan, right? In modern day Jordan, actually, in the country of Jordan. So that's where they're coming from. They crossed the Jordan, and they came to Dothan. And Judah, and it said to his brethren, what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh, and his brethren were content. You see that right there. So Judah in his own way is trying to speak some sense to him. But Judah always trying to profit off of it. Verse 28. Then there passed by Midianites merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. And they brought Joseph into Egypt, right? So Joseph was the first of the children of Israel to go into slavery. He went into slavery into Egypt. Verse 29, and Reuben returned into the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit, and he rent his clothes. And he returned to his brethren and said, the child is not, and I, whither shall I go? Right? So he said, Dad's going to get in my ass for not protecting his youngest son. Or not his youngest, second youngest. Verse 31, and they took Joseph's coat and killed a kid of the goats and dipped the coat in the blood, and they sent the coat of many colors And they brought it to their father and said, "This have we found. Know now whether it be thy son's coat or no." And he knew it and said, "It is my son's coat. An evil beast hath devoured him. Joseph is without doubt rent in pieces." And Jacob rent his clothes and put sackcloth upon his loins and mourned for his son many days. And all his sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. And he said, "For I will go down into the grave unto my son mourning." Thus his father wept for him. Right, so this changed Jacob forever. All right, what he thought he lost his son, but he thought his son is dead. That changed Jacob forever. And the Midianites sold him into Egypt unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's and captain of the guard. Right, so he was sold into slavery to Potiphar. All right. Now let's go ahead and read Genesis 38. This is the last chapter that we're going to read tonight. And then next week we'll get into Joseph in Egypt. All right. So Genesis 38, starting with 1. "And it came to pass at that time that Judah went down from his brethren and turned into a certain Adullamite whose name was Hira." I believe Adullam is a city, and Adullamite just is somebody from that city. I don't think Adullam is going to be on the map though. Maybe I said the same thing about Dothan though. So I don't think it's the same as Adumim. I think that's different. Yeah, I don't see any Adullam on here. All right, we'll keep reading though. Adullam probably though a city in Canaan. And Judah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite whose name was Shua. Or maybe Hira is one of his friends. Because there you see Shua is actually the woman that he got with. And he took her and went in unto her. And she conceived and bare a son, and he called his name Do we have the meaning of these names in here? I don't think so. Let's see. No, we don't have the meaning of these names. So we'll just keep it moving. All right. So is his firstborn. Verse 4. "And she conceived again and bare a son, and she called his name Onan. And she yet again conceived and bare a son, and called his name Shelah. And he was at Chezib when she bare him." I don't think Chezib is on here either. Or Chezib, depending on how you want to pronounce that. No, these are, I imagine these are just small Canaanite cities. I might just tripping, but according to the context, that seems like what it is. All right, so let's get back to it. So Judah had 3 sons, Onan, and Shelah. That's the ones that he had by Shua. By Shua is this Canaanite's name. "And Judah took a wife for his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. And Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him." You see that right there? So the first ever Judite. Not a good track record. First ever Judite that ever existed was wicked and evil, and God killed him. "And Judah said unto Onan, Go in unto thy brother's wife, and marry her, and raise up seed to thy brother." Right? Because that's what the law was. Even before the law was written down in Deuteronomy 25, it was already a custom among the Hebrews. Hey, look, if your brother gets married but doesn't have children, you got to raise up children in his stead, right, for his name, so that no name would be blotted out. All right, no seed would be blotted out. "And raise up seed to thy brother," verse 9, "And Onan knew that the seed should not be his. And it came to pass, when he went in unto his brother's wife, that he spilled it on the ground, lest that he should give seed to his brother." Right, so he pulled out. When specifically the only reason why he's marrying this woman is to have a son and name him right, in the name of his brother, so that the seed of would never be blotted out. But this man was like, "Well, I'm gonna get the coochie, but I ain't gonna raise up seed to my brother." Right? Just wicked, just selfish. That's all it is. Literally, just his own self-interest. That's all it is. Some people use it to say, oh, you can't pull out at all. That's not what it's saying. It's not what it's saying. He just didn't want to raise up seed to his brother. All right, verse 10. And the thing which he did displeased the Lord, wherefore he slew him also. All right. So, yeah, God killed Onan as well. So now you got dead because his foolishness and wickedness. Now Onan's dead because his foolishness and wickedness as well. Then said Judah to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, remain a widow at thy father's house till Shelah my son be grown. For he said, lest peradventure he die also as his brethren did. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house. Right? So Judah's like, look, don't remarry to anyone until I raise up my son Shelah, and then he can raise up seed for his brethren. All right? And he can give you children and raise up seed to his brethren, right? And in process of time, the daughter of Shua, Judah's wife, died. And Judah was comforted and went up unto his sheep shearers to Timnath, he and his friend Hira the Adullamite. Yeah, see, there you go. Hira is a friend of Judah. All right. So Judah had a daughter. In the process of time, the daughter of Shua, Judah's wife, died, right? So Judah had a daughter that died. And then Judah ended up getting over it, and he went up to Timnath. Let's see. Timnath is on here. I believe I just saw that. Timnath. Could have sworn I just seen Timnath on here. Somewhere, yeah, or Timnah is more than likely the same thing. Timnath and Timnah. All right. Let's get back. And it was told Tamar, saying, behold, thy father-in-law goeth up to Timnath to shear his sheep. And she put her widow's garments off from her, and covered her with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in an open place, which is by the way to Timnath. For she saw that Shelah was grown, and she was not given unto him to wife. You see that right there? So Judah said, hey, hold on, don't get remarried. I'm going to raise up my son, and once he gets grown, he's going to marry you. But that's not what happened. Judah never kept his promise with, what's his name, Tamar? Yeah, with Tamar. All right, so Judah never kept his promise to Tamar. When Judah saw her, he thought her to be a harlot because she had covered her face. And he turned unto her by the way and said, go to, I pray thee, let me come in unto thee, for he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. You see that right there? And she said, what wilt thou give me that thou mayest come in unto me? Right? So he's trying to get a hooker. He's trying to get a prostitute. All right? But he didn't know that this is his daughter-in-law because she's got a face covering. All right? So she said, what you going to give me? What's some collateral? Or rather, I think collateral is a nice term, or a proper term for what this is. And he said, I will send thee a kid from the flock. And she said, wilt thou give me a pledge? Shall thou send it? And he said, what pledge shall I give thee? Okay, so no, this is the collateral. She said, look, I'll play this role of the hooker. What you gonna give me? And he's like, well, I'll give you a goat. And she's like, well, how am I supposed to know you're actually gonna give me this goat without giving me a pledge? And he said, what pledge shall I give thee? And she said, thy signet and thy bracelets and thy staff that is in thy hand. And he gave it her and came in unto her, and she conceived by him. So the signet would be like the ring, which would seal his documents that he wrote, proving that it's him. And the bracelets, of course, you know what bracelets are, and the staff. And staff is, staffs were very personalized back then. Like you could carve whatever you wanted to on it. Your name was more than likely was carved into it. And he gave it her and came in unto her, and she conceived by him, and she arose and went away and laid by her veil from her and put on the garments of her widowhood. Right, so she slept with Judah, ended up getting pregnant, but she, was acting like everything was normal. And Judah sent the kid by the hand of his friend the Adullamite to receive his pledge from the woman's hand, but he found her not. Right, so he was actually going to pay her, but he got there and wasn't nobody there. Then he asked the men of that place, saying, where is the harlot that was openly by the wayside? And they said, there was no harlot in this place. They're like, dude, what are you talking about? Yeah, I met a hooker out here. Where's she at? I don't know what you're talking about, dude. There ain't no hooker out here. And he returned to Judah and said, I cannot find her. And also the men of that place, or the men of the place, said that there was no harlot in this place. And Judah said, let her take it to her, lest we be shamed. Behold, I sent this kid, and thou hast not found her. Right? So he's like, oh man, this is going to be bad. If she exposes what I've done in the dark, this is going to be bad. Verse 24. And it came to pass about 3 months after that it was told Judah, saying, Tamar, thy daughter-in-law, had played the harlot, right? Because she started showing, right? She started showing her pregnancy. And also, behold, she is with child by whoredom, right? Oh, she got pregnant and she ain't married. She been out playing the harlot. And Judah said, bring her forth and let her be burnt. He said right there, so Judah out here messing around with whores. He didn't try to kill them or her initially, right? He didn't say, oh, I got to kill this hooker. But when it comes to his daughter-in-law, he's like, oh, you been a whore? We got to kill you. When she was brought forth, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, by the man whose these are, I am with child. Right? So she held on to the collateral. The signet, the bracelets, and the staff. She held on to all of it. And she said, discern, I pray thee, whose are these? The signet and the bracelets and the staff. And Judah acknowledged them and said, she hath been more righteous than I, because that I gave her not to Shelah my son, and he knew her again no more. You see that right there? So he didn't ever have sex with her again after that. But he acknowledged that, look, that was foolish that I did. To go out and try to find a hooker, that was foolish, and I never gave her Shelah, my son, to be her husband like I promised her. I didn't keep my promise to her. She's been more righteous than me. All right. Verse 27. And it came to pass in the time of her travail that, behold, twins were in her womb. And it came to pass when she travailed that the one put out his hand, and the midwife took and bound upon his hand a scarlet thread, saying, this came out first. And it came to pass as he drew back his hand that, behold, his brother came out. And she said, how hast thou broken forth? This breach be upon thee. Therefore his name was called Pharez, right? Pharez meaning breach. All right. And afterward came out his brother that had the scarlet thread upon his hand, and his name was called Zerah. So do we have a meaning for Zerah here? No, just Pharez. That's odd. What's Zerah name meaning? Zerah, no. Name, meaning in Hebrew. Come on now. Radiance, to scatter, fan, winnow. Rising or dawn. Okay, I like that one the best. Rising or dawn. And that's how people will also say radiance or east or brightness. But rising or dawn. All right. So that's the origins of Pharez and Zerah, two different tribes within Judah. Shelah also has some children as well, and that's where Judites come from. I don't know if Judah ended up having more kids besides that. I think it's possible that he did. We'll read about that later on down the line, though. But yeah, next week we're going to get into Joseph in Egypt. But yeah, man. I ain't hating on Judah or anything like that, but not a good start. Not a good start for the Judites. It is what it is, though. Hey, all praise to the Most High. Our Lord sprang from Judah. But with that, we're going to get into Joseph next week. Hey, I hope y'all learned something. Let me jump over here because I see something happen. I got some sort of notification. Okay, but we're all good, though. We're all good. So with that, I say shalom. Let God be magnified.